Hello and welcome to another League of Legends tutorial and to the fourth video of our team fighting series. We've done 3 roles and now we're moving on to the final 3, beginning with tanks, with supports and ADCs yet to come. Now, not always considered the most popular role in champion type, but tanks make or break team fights. Their positioning, engages, damage soaking nature and crowd control all dictate how a fight is won or lost. If a tank misses his engage or CC on the enemy Kai'Sa and she's fed, you're probably going to have a rough time. So despite many of you not being enamored with playing tanks, it is vital though that you understand how they navigate engages, peeling, and all the other dirty work so that you can actually get your pentakill. So if you do enjoy this video and you think it deserves your like, please do so, and let's see if we can get it to 1,000 likes again. It helps out tremendously and it does let me know if you want me to finish off the series. As usual, it will feature the champions I play, and most of course will be Ornn. We'll have some Nunu and Maokai will show up, but all the principles can be applied to other tanks as well. We're going to talk about all the types of engages you can have, CC interrupting, zoning, damage absorbing, and of course peeling. As usual, we're going to do this all within 10 minutes. So let's begin. One of the most fundamental tank attributes is using your CC to engage, but the art of engaging is deeply rooted in your ability to read enemy spells and cooldowns and understand if your team is able to follow up. Whether or not they do is a different story, but oftentimes a tank will engage and their team is in no position to capitalize on that. From Scion trains to Ornn horns to Maokai's reforestation, every tank has some sort of defining CC spell or combo. So let's talk first about opportunistic engages, but please keep in mind that the use of CC is relevant to your particular champion and it's imperative that you use it on the right targets and right enemies whenever you can. So here in this example, the enemy Caitlyn is down from a previous pick we made, and the red team is making a run for it despite the fact that they have a huge lead. Morg's Black Shield has just been used and is now on cooldown, so we have a small window where we can use CC without her blocking it at all. The enemy team is running away near a wall, and I know that my Ornn is of course an AoE, and while my ult is down, my team has all their ultimates up. I immediately react to flash E and hit 3 of them in a knockup. GP is in a great position to follow up because, well, you know, his ult is global, so 200 IQ advice in this video. Now this is after Morg and Elise both stun each other, but with my sudden engage causing the enemy team to feel a bit out of position and then GP's ult zoning them away and splitting them up, J4 feels like he has to create more distance or at least do his best to melt someone while allowing the rest of his team to get away. Naturally now my positioning is key while my spells are on cooldown. As a tank, you want to create distance between your carries and the enemy carries. You want to deter them from their damage attempts and also separate any backline dive from follow-up. J4 wants to dive and combo with Ori. I want to stand there and make sure that Orianna doesn't have any smart ideas about using her ultimate with it. In this instance though, J4 is locked away from the rest of his team while Morgana has already fallen, all stemming from a clutch 4-man engage and GP reacting accordingly. And on the note of opportunistic engages, if you have a long range ult or a speed up, use it on enemies who are sitting in a wooded area without knowing that you see them. Now with Maokai it of course wouldn't work as well because it goes so slowly, but something like Scion, definitely Ornn, they all work. These surprise engages can lead to easy picks and objectives if your team are in the area and they actually see what you see, so make sure to ping a few times to guarantee backup. You can simply use your long range engage, hit your follow up CC, and the enemy has no time to react or do anything about it. And of course, if you are a super long range engage champion, make sure to use it on out of position targets like a Jhin. That's why Jhins hate Ornns. That's why Ornn stays in the meta for so long. Now, while Volibear is technically a fighter, he can also act exactly like a tank, and in this example showcases how a hard forced engage can create a choke point where you're tanking all the damage from the enemy while your team attempts to dish out their own. You can also turn and peel flanking enemies and chain CC with your team together. So even if you hard engage, keep an eye out for your responsibilities within fights. But how did Volibear know that that was exactly the time to engage? Well, it's quite simple really. Vayne was seen prior to this flanking from the mid lane even though we didn't see it in the clip, and the top laner had also just gone back. Volibear's top laner Darius is sitting bot lane and could easily rotate if needed. Now as soon as Graves showed out of position in the river, and knowing that he was quite tanky at this point, Volley could all in, damage soak, and then turn and peel the Vayne, letting his team what they had to do in order to win the fight, even if Kai'Sa does go a bit too aggressive, but she had her own personal peel bot in Nami. The most important thing about engages is understanding what spells are up, where you can capitalize on an advantage, and of course if your team is ready to wombo and react with you. And so sometimes you will actually want to wombo combo with your team in order to dive. This means that multiple champions on your team have strong AoE and CC spells that can chain together for maximum damage output. This is especially useful in dive comms. So in this situation, you're not so much peeling, but as going for total obliteration. In this example, you see him hit an opportunistic long-range Ornn ultimate on the enemy-fed Lucian, while the Malphite follows up with additional AoE knockup right afterwards. Kai'Sa then uses this to activate her ultimate, of course moving herself to our location, which is great for her own peel, but at the same time, now to dish out damage while the enemies are all CC'd and caught in that chain. The Virkayu then dances around everyone, adding CC and feather loss, and once the 2 focused targets are down, we can turn and clean up the rest of the fight. Again, just like in the mages video, focusing the target closest to your team, take them out, and then the next one. Don't shoo in and focus on one that's in the distance and then walk through someone. Now sometimes engages based upon the team comp and the nature of the game can happen without you. So if you're late to the party for whatever reason that is, be ready to use your spells and CC effectively and slot in the right position. Pay attention to the HP levels of everyone in the fight, so it's all very well flanking with a huge snowball, but make sure your team is able to continue the fight with you and not you diving 3 people while your team's actually trying to disengage, which means to use your CC and spells in order to walk away from the fight and no longer continue it. And of course, one of the most game-changing moments in solo queue is when you nail that one more combo with a counter engage. That means the enemy's chasing you down, maybe taking a tower, trying to push more advantages. Well, then you can hit the 3 or 4 man knockup because you've been patient and saved your CC for the right moment. And when you do it with Ornn, you can have your adjacent talent swoop in for the raw damage, and it can really motivate everyone in your team or straight up win you the game for the counter push that you can have. Let's look at an in-depth example of a counter engage fight where you as a tank can perhaps take a slightly different approach as well. Yes, you want to be that front line, but sometimes you also have to pay attention to significant carries. You should also look out for fight changing CC. So keep using your CC on as many targets as possible, but also using it at the right time. So here in this situation, my cannon is caught out and Talon is looking to invade red but is forced to retreat. The enemy Kled and Yi immediately begin the chase down, and so I use my ultimate to hit the double knockup. Sadly, the Zed comes in first and takes him out. And now Kha'Zix returns the favor by killing Zed, but while this went on, Lulu has ulted the level 17 Master Yi and he in turn kills the Kha'Zix. All I'm doing at this point is eyeing the Yi. I'm saving my spells and CC for him, and that's it. If he doesn't die, we will lose. He is hyper fed and very annoying. So Lucian is making sure to ult the air as hard as he can before some of the shots tickle the Yi, and nevertheless the combination of Talon and Lucian hitting Yi as he comes out of alpha does a lot of damage. I then use my W with that, and as soon as I see he's not going to die, I move into auto attack, which of course I accidentally cancel because I'm a dodo, and because at the same time I also want to Q through him. The auto attack would kill him, so would a Q, which is what happens. However, at the same time, I am setting up a Q for a few moments later. And now we're 3v3, and I'm just waiting for the Talon to have his polymorph tickle down and for the pillar to rise. The goal here is to have all 3 of us turn on the enemy, but even my teammates haven't really thought about what I'm going to do because they don't know my cooldowns. And as a tank, you control this turn with your CC. You are the direction of the fight. If I have nothing up, we will have to just back out, disengage, the fight's over. You always want to interrupt and serve up enemies for your team to do the damage. So I wait a tiny fraction longer, I turn and hit the EO on my Q, which is now risen from the fiery depths of the deep earth, and all 3 enemies pop right up into the air. We force Swain Zhonya's, Kled's flash, Lulu dies, and then Lucian and I can chase down the Swain with me using my E just to guarantee the finish. So while tanks are huge engage tools and CC bots, they also shoulder the responsibility for that damage soaking presence, disrupting enemy team comps, and of course peeling. Huge responsibility for a tank is knowing how to peel. Yes, an ADC should be mindful of this and their own positioning, but sometimes you can deter engages and encourage disengages simply by keeping yourself in front of the enemy and zoning them hard. Be mindful of fights where you need to protect your DPS player rather than chain CC and engage, because sometimes they will be by themselves while an enemy Camille is diving or something like that, and it's on you to try and CC and keep them alive. It's also necessary to take a hook and take the beating so that your teammate can escape and of course turn things around. Let's now briefly close this video by looking at how good peel can turn a fight around for your team. The Ryze ults in here and finishes off the Braum, and now I'm in the situation of having to hard peel a Kai'Sa versus a very fed Ryze. I immediately turn to channel my ult, which of course causes the enemy to disperse in different directions to get out of the maximum blast radius, and despite being a tank, Nunu's base damage on the ultimate after full channel is still substantial. This action allows the Kai'Sa the opportunity to position very well by damaging the Ryze only, and then ulting to the other side of him so only Ryze can hit him, and I am now between the Draven and the Nami. Kai'Sa's next thought is simply to run after she's able to take out the Ryze, but I'm quite far ahead as well, and can easily chain CC over and over again while keeping a body between Kai'Sa and Draven. And then after that, Kai'Sa can pick them all off and you can win the game. And in closing, using your champion's tankiness and body to simply sit in the middle of the enemy team and force them to be confused as to their purpose is a great tank tool. Here is Maokai ulted and I'm just CCing and getting in the way. It opens up MF to ult their entire team and disables the enemy from being able to get close enough to her to stop it. I then swap to peel duty to keep the Jax off of my carry and take the Thresh hook, and it's all over. Naturally, using all these tools together and knowing whether you should be engaging, peeling, damage soaking is very important, but tanks are extremely effective when you have the right target selection. knowing what to CC, and in the chaotic fights, focusing the nearest targets to your damage dealers so you can assist in picking them off one by one. Focusing the nearest targets to your carries and keeping them from doing damage to them is the most crucial skill in terms of your peel. And yes, you have to focus on all these things while thinking about engage and disengage and more. It's a much more complicated task than most think and not fully appreciated either. All the topics we covered are in the timestamps below if you want to revisit them. Naturally, the dynamics of team fighting is absolutely insane, and we cannot cover everything, but hopefully that's enough of the basics to get you in the right direction in your solo queue games, even where things are a bit more uncoordinated. Please don't forget to like, comment, and share if you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe for more League videos coming soon. Consider becoming a member and joining on YouTube if you want to officially join the community, and as always, I will see you all in the next tutorial.